to having it streamed.
Depends how it pans out, really, doesn't it?
Okay, I'm set up.
Alright, so Johnny will be holding the master recording and will be streaming as well. So I think at this point, Johnny, you can go ahead and throw a password on the channel.
Yeah, sure, hold on. And I'll also unmute all the remaining people.
Is Mabel here? Or anyone from Deadstop?
Yeah, that's Afro Savior.
Okay.
Is anyone from Working Intended here?
Like half the channel, maybe?
The whole team?
Yeah, that's so.
Are you Johnny the Juicy J on Twitch?
Yep.
I'm happy to just like sit back and not say anything until the Raider topic comes up. That was really what I wanted to speak about.
I thought only one person was allowed per team.
Except
I'll
for
happily
Working
leave the
Intended.
channel if you...
Working as
insist on it.
intended are selected to be
Well, just let me know,
multi-teaming.
because I could bring my whole team as well.
Well, if it helps, you can consider Arky Spin
Well-
Fuser, me Level Up TV, and Stream Way.
No, that
But
is
So-
why are those things even? It's again, why are those things qualified?
just
Not qualified, but
Yeah, I don't
Go-
think
go
Spin
for-
Fuser has any effect on anything we do, especially not rules.
go for like everyone fair, just one person per team.
Just for the record, guys, I won my 13th game of League of Legends.
Alright, Stream, can I ask you to pop down? We'll have Johnny here as admin and
I'll
Archie
just
representing
keep
Working
quiet,
as
yeah.
intended.
So that's fine.
Sure.
Is everyone happy with
That's
that?
fine.
Yeah.
Before Flame. Okay.
Would I be able to speak on Raiders though later, or are you guys against that completely?
You speak to me on IRC and I'll say it.
Okay.
Because that's
Sure.
the way everyone else is doing it, so it's only fair that we do
Alright.
the same.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, we're gonna need it.
Good luck, have fun.
So this is being streamed on Johnny's channel.
Twitch.tv/Johnny the Juicy J.
Cool.
Do you want to tweet it, Bart? Or something like that? Just so no one has an excuse.
Dog. I'm one step ahead of you.
Sexy beast.
It's all in the beard. It's all in the beard.
Johnny, you might want to tweet it as
It's
well.
all in the beard.
Johnny, you might want to tweet it as
It's
well.
all in the beard. I guess I'll drop it on IRC as well.
One step ahead of you.
You written an agenda or anything, Bart?
Bart, or anyone with admin, could you drag White Whale into this channel?
Where is he?
No idea, hold on.
Oh yeah, and can you also join Copro from the Tribal Council Skybox?
I pulled him in.
Welcome, White Whale.
Copro Porphyria.
Thanks. Down on top.
Wow, the mumble lady pronounces your name really well, Copro.
Really? Probably
It's just like-
casters.
Yeah, she's like Copro Porphyria. Oh. Oh. Okay, so I think we have enough here to get underway, guys. I see representatives from most of the teams here. If you, so I guess in general, the way we're going to go through this, the agenda was basically in that email as to how I'd like to progress through, unless there's any objections that are reasonable about that. Johnny, they're asking for overlay in this stream as well for who's speaking, which seems reasonable.
Well, not even an objection as such, but for the Australian guys, we were hoping to talk about stuff that wasn't so much balance, but also community stuff, which relates to endgame and stuff Harriers can do.
Sure.
Okay, coach.
Yeah, I'll add it to the end of the agenda. So we're going to be going, basically talking light offense versus light defense, which is essentially soldier versus raider. Capper sniper, so how that interaction is being played out right now. We'll talk capper versus chaser, so how chasing is currently in tribes, and that kind of segues out of the sniper conversation because they are very related. And then finally automatic weapons, and whether or not, basically that one is around whether or not there needs to be an across the board reduction in their damage if we, quote unquote miss the fun there. And then the last piece we'll go through will be, community interaction and feedback for myself and the development team in all. So is that, seems agreeable with everybody? I don't hear any dissenters yet.
Sounds fine.
Oh, good.
Very good. Okay, well, so the first topic then I would like to discuss with you guys, and just to be clear, I think that this is not this is less a like what you think about it and how oh what the fuck Hi-Rez, what were you thinking to make the Raider like that in the first place. Let's talk more about what can be done. Like what is an actionable insight that someone has around the Raiders, blah blah blah, right? So I would like to see the conversation with the damage values for the NJ4 versus the assault rifle, and basically are you all of the opinion that those two should essentially have their damage values swapped or normalized?
Should we come up with some kind of format for this, like an
Yeah,
order to
we're
speak
just
in and then go down?
We're all gonna talk.
Yeah.
over each
Well,
other.
why don't we go down in the order that's in the mumble there? So we'll start with Hollow, get his opinion on that, and then go down the list. Is that agreeable?
Sure.
Very good. All right, Hollow, have anything to say on the NJ4 and AR balance or anything else that pertains to Raiders versus the defense, specifically LO, or sorry, LD?
Oh, okay, so this is on not the weapon balance itself, but the balance between those two classes?
Well, which is essentially the weapon balance.
Well, there's many other factors to take in if we're going with weapon balance versus just those two classes.
Well, this is more along the lines of the essential thing that I'd like to get ironed out here is the Raider being better at fulfilling his role than the counter class's ability to fulfill their role. So in a nutshell, that's Raider versus Soldier or Raider versus Hoff.
Okay. So currently the only way I see this going out is that if their weapon damages are swapped, that would help greatly. It's the shield pack that really hurts the or makes the Raider a little bit too powerful in that aspect, especially with the high damage weapon values, the high rate of fire. But the biggest thing I see is that the spin fuser and the assault rifle can't be used together. That's huge. The Raider can use their main weapon and their bullet hose at the same time, and that's a huge advantage that they've got over the other guys. So it's just Raider hands down right now, and they've got a non-line of sight weapon that they can just fire over a hill or whatever.
Awesome, thanks. Mabel.
Okay, so I think that generally we should see some sort of reduction in the effectiveness of Raider. There are some things which are just ridiculous. Whiteouts are just insanely good for no apparent reason. EMP grenades are really weird in that they like do damage and like drain you of energy, and they're not really separated at all from like the frag grenade XL or something for no good reason. Like it doesn't really make sense to me that it has like an EMP grenade and like that's rolled in
Right.
grenade.
Little damage trade-off for extra utility.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, it feels like it should just have an actual frag grenade and an EMP grenade, and like you decide, which one you're moving between. The NJ4 versus assault rifle thing, there's really no reason for the NJ4 to be better in any way. Like the Soldier is just like worse in every way than both the Raider and the Pathfinder, except for health in the Pathfinder's case, and it's just that's really weird balance. I think the NJ4's damage needs to be at least, just like the stats in general, need to be at least swapped with the Soldier assault rifle. I think the Soldier assault rifle should also be able to shoot when you're zoomed in. The NJ5 is also a little bit overpowered. I think it's mainly due to the magazine size, and then you can see what you go from there. I think it maybe does like 5 or 10 too much damage per hit. Otherwise, like in like the offense versus defense thing, weapon handling stuff has a lot to do with defense having problems killing Raiders. There, things like hold to fire through weapon switches has a huge effect on the soldier and the pathfinder, but not really for the raider. And it's really brutal when you're just fighting and like you need to spam click to fire the LAR, or you need to spam click to be able to fire your thumper, you know, as soon as it's prepared or something. In that field, you also need to run quick draw to be able to kill them, you know, stuff like that. It's all really difficult. Other than that, I think the shield pack could use a slight reduction, but you have to be really careful because the shield pack is the raider's just only way to stay alive, honestly, or else you just get picked off really far away really quickly. So maybe like up to like 10% or something, I'm thinking, to start with. But I don't know, that's it.
Thank you, Mabel. All right, we'll move on to Ale from the European scene. Ale, what you got?
Yeah, I really can't add much more to that. That was pretty good. Just mostly reductions in clip sizes on the Raider, I think. Just to kind of nerf that SMG a little bit, and it shouldn't do more damage than a primary weapon at all. But I'll skip for now.
Sure. Arky, you have anything to add? Or I guess, you know, does anyone have anything to add between, I guess let's go down for the next three. Arky, Fett, or Copro, anything to add to that?
Nope, I pretty much agree with what Mabel said. I think a straight swap of the damage between the two weapons would be fine. I'm not sure if I agree the NJ5 is slightly overpowered, but maybe that's just someone used it much. And I think disc and AR are sort of, you know, even if you if you did swap the damage, I think you'd still really need the disc to actually, you know, make them similar, the classes similar strength. But I think we need to test this sort of thing before it actually goes live to actually be able to see, to get a good idea of, like, you know, if that sort of thing would actually strike the right balance.
Fair enough. Copro?
I think that giving the soldier both the disc and AR to use simultaneously is definitely a point that needs to be tried out. I'm interested to see after that goes into effect, now what is the balance between Raider and Soldier? I think probably the Raider still will have an upper hand if you consider that most of them, at least as far as I know, use potential energy, and so if you smack them with the disc, they're just going to get a lot of their quote-unquote health back in terms of a shield pack. So like Mabel mentioned, that the shield may be a little bit too much. So potential energy is the only other thing that I could think of to maybe look at tweaking from a Raider perspective.
Sure thing. Krista, everything to add?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest problem with the raiders is their shield. A good raider will just come near you when he's trying to disrupt your stand, and then as soon as you start hitting him, he will fall back, regenerate his energy, and then restart. So I think how the shield works should be a little bit nerfed, like the damage per second of the NJ4. That's all.
Okay, so the rate at which the shield pack converts damage and negates it to energy should be nerfed, essentially, so that it takes more energy to negate the same amount of damage.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. David Bowie.
Yeah, I think that it's a good point about possibly trying out Disc AR. It's something that from the beginning it seemed like, oh, we don't want to do that because it'd just be the best loadout ever and everyone would use it, but we're at a point where the soldier feels like one of the weakest classes in the game, so why not give that a try and see how that plays out? I think it would definitely help some with the Raider versus soldier balance. Other than that, I would just echo what people said about maybe turning down the shield pack slightly and the NJ4 slightly, or swapping it with the soldier.
Right on. Greg?
Pretty much the same as Krista. The shield pack is a bit too overpowered right now, especially with the NJ4. And the AR and disc would be cool, but maybe not with the AR with the damage of NJ4. With the same one as now would be probably good. And that's it.
Great. Guruzi.
Pretty much what Crystal Light said. I agree with maybe a slight reduction in the rate of fire for the for the NJ4, just a little bit. The DPS, I think, is fine on all levels.
Right on. Hatui. Mr.
I think everybody knows me here.
I think the...
Okay.
Huh? Okay.
Oh yeah, I think. Gurus, do you have activation or were you finishing up?
Oh no, I was just finishing up. I was just saying, if maybe you can just increase the damage or the, I don't know, nerf the shield pack when it comes to projectile weapons. That would give the soldier a little bit of an edge on the raider.
Right on. Thank you. Okay, Tui.
I play Raider as my main class. I think a lot of people know that. And I duel with it a lot, and I play with it a lot, period. So I think I have the most experience as a Raider in this channel here. But I think...
You think?
Yeah, but I think nothing is wrong with the Raider. Because if you nerf the Raider, it'll buff other classes. It's not like the Raider is as effective as other classes in scrims and matches and stuff. For example, Sniper. So if you're like nerfing a class, you're just buffing the other ones.
Fair enough.
I really do not think anything is wrong with the Raider.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you.
what Sreen agrees with as well. When he was talking about earlier, he wants me to make sure that I say he's of that opinion as well, effectively.
Thank you, gentlemen. Persian.
Going off what Mabel said earlier about whiteouts, one of the things I wanted to add is that while whiteouts, jackals, and stuff like Screen Shake might be good, they probably don't have a place in comp. There's a lot of things that are great for the game. I just don't want to see. I don't know if all of us want to see them in competition.
Customizable, at least.
But I think that's one of those things that the community can take and balance out ourselves. Things like whiteout.
Fair enough.
As far as the Raider, I really want you guys to be careful how you nerf the Raider. I'm somewhere in between Hatui and the rest in that I do think that it's a little too effective, but he's got a point in that the Raider, it needs to be that powerful, and or not that powerful, but it needs to be basically the best one-on-one kit. You got to understand, he's going the other end of the map. His cost of death is way more than any other class. He's got to go against on most of the maps except Drydock. He's got to go against people who are now playing King of the Hill, people who are defensive. He's got a disadvantage more than anyone else, the Raider does. The problem just becomes that the game is kind of boiled down to who can just chain you so well with 2 or even stacking 3 Raiders up there in the front. And so again, I caution everyone in that. Don't nerf it too hard. And one of the things that could actually come up with this organically is that if you do nerf the chain, you might chain across the board, you might fix this. Putting an emphasis on disc play might make that for sure Raider one-on-one win a little bit more random. One of the problems I have is that with a shield and a chain, you're almost guaranteed to win. Whereas even in a disc fight, let's say you got 2 people who are good at discs, you won't win every single time or even 90% of the time. But when it's a reduction of shield and chain, it's almost a sure thing because it's just such a constant. One last thing about the soldier. I don't think you're going to see it being that weak. If you nerf the Raider a little bit, the soldier won't be that weak. Between the proxy nades and its thumper, it's not that bad as you guys make it. I just think that you'll see it come into its own once the Raider doesn't just shred it apart at range whenever it wants to.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You touched on one of the more important things there. Well, okay, there's
one last thing before I go.
Okay.
I do about the across the board nerf and chain. While I do really want to see this to emphasize the fun play of this, is really going to kill us on D. How many of your D is just that chain from across the map? And so if we do come with a across the board nerf and chain, it has to come somewhat simultaneously with a boost in chase, or else D is just going to get shred apart.
Right.
Okay, let's tackle that when we get to it. That is actually kind of one of the sub-points of that is how it affects chase. So I'd like to tackle that then.
Can I respond to Jihad a little bit?
Let's get through the rest of the people and then come back to any rebuttals and then move on to the next topic. So I'd like to pass it over to Blue Jay.
Only thing I really like to add to that is maybe like I know there's a lot of discussion about the Raider. I agree with Jihad. Like you got to be real cautious on just nerfing that too much. One thing one of my guys maybe suggested do the Raider kind of like how the Infiltrator is. Maybe have a period, maybe like a 2-second window where it takes to activate that shield. Maybe that'll kind of nerf it just a tad, but not all the way throw things off on there. So I mean that's just something to consider right there. And then I definitely want to see the disc and assault rifle combo. I mean I think it's definitely time to implement that and at least give that a try. But that's all I got for now.
Cheers. Thank you, sir. Mask, what do you got?
Possibly implementing maybe a spread with the SMG. Overall, I kind of agree with Hat. You don't want to nerf it too much because that's literally the only thing it's got for it. Like if you nerf it so hard, nobody's gonna do it. So flash grenades, I would kind of like to see not a complete blind, and maybe like half of what it does. You should still kind of be able to see it. This isn't Counter-Strike, and plus people are generally jetting away. So besides if it lands at the bottom of your feet, it should blind you. But if you're jetting away, you shouldn't be completely blinded.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Scorch?
I don't really have much to add on the chain side of things in terms of damage. I was more focused on that shield pack. I liked LL Blue Jay's idea with the taking a couple seconds to activate. I thought that was a nice little side. On terms of damage, you do want to be careful nerfing that chain because as people are saying, if you make it less effective than another choice, then people are going to choose that every time. But also on a side to that, I think Raiders are at the moment dominating offense play. Like you are losing off on heavy offense with Juggernauts and that. They aren't being used as much as for their role as you would expect. And maybe we should look at something to kind of help Juggernaut become more a little bit more effective, so there is more kind of diverse play. Other than the shield pack and chain, I didn't really have any much more to add on that.
Thanks, sir. Is it Shada or Shada?
Doesn't matter, bro. What I wanted to think about, I play Raider as well, is that being very careful with nerfing it, because I do think it definitely needs some kind of nerf, but you have to be careful not to nerf too many things or too much. So a lot of people are talking about chains and shield packs. I think it has to be one or the other, and in my opinion, chains at the moment dominate both offense and defense. So, and I don't like that as a metagame. I don't think that's how Tribe should play out, or at least for the most part. So I think if you have to nerf, say, NJ4, NJ5, it needs to be a nerf across the board for chain guns, ideally. Just even small's fine. But the thing that I really like so far is with the Raider, you have the NJ4 and the NJ5, which are almost like side grades. They fill their different niches, which is terrific. I mean, I don't think there's any other real example of that so far. Which is good, but I mean, if you nerf that, I don't want to see a nerf to shield pack at the same time. I don't want to see, even if you're being cautious, making careful changes, I don't want to see the Raider suddenly become a class that simply isn't as good going forward. And then at the same time, if you say you change Soldier to Spin Fuser and Chain Gun at the same time, then that's also an effective nerf to Raider. So I think we have to be very careful where we go with that. I mean, these are all very good ideas and things that could be tested, but I'm not sure I want to see them all come at the same time or even at all. But I think the main one for me, just personally, and a lot of people I've talked to, is just a bit of a chain gun nerf across the board. I don't want to see. I don't want to get into it too much now because it's about chasing and stuff. But I don't want to see a spread on the chain gun for a bit of that reason. I won't get into it now. But yeah, I just want to be very cautious, and I do think chain guns are the main point people should be looking at. Although I think, yeah, shield pack is too strong, I feel like chain gun is where we should be looking to balance the Raider though.
Fair enough. Thank you. Steppo.
Hi, sorry, you probably still have to fill me in because I'm a little late, didn't get any email or something. So are we talking about the general radar problem?
This is in general, we're talking about how the Raider is currently fulfilling the role of light offense, and it's more effective than the ability for a soldier or even a Hoff to play the light defense role against them, and kind of the general balance between the two and the Raiders' overall effectiveness. So essentially, yes.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, so I don't know what has been said already, therefore I might be repeating something. But the tendencies were already there, so I guess it is about rebalancing the shield a bit, because that is probably what makes the Raider too strong, and I don't see many things that could currently attack Raiders in a shield except motion sensors and EMP grenades, and they are both not really easy to handle against good Raiders because the SMG is just too strong. So yeah, it's a really hard thing to balance, I guess, because then again the whole metagame would shift. But in general, I think delay on the shield or something would be nice. Instant switch on and off switch is just too much because the energy restorage is also too quick. Therefore, good Raiders can just basically stay shielded all the time if they just wait a little bit.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Svenna.
Well, I agree with Shada and Jihad, except I wouldn't want a spread and I wouldn't want a shield nerf. Maybe a bit of a DPS nerf on the NJ4. That's about it.
Can I throw something out there? I don't necessarily think that we need to just entirely nerf the Raider. I think we need to at least take the perspective of what can we do to buff other classes to make it so that it's not as effective.
Sure.
Do you really want to buff other classes? Isn't lethality already too high in this game?
Well, let's be honest here. Yeah,
Agreed
I'll
there.
get to it later, but I just want to throw that out there.
Sure.
It's implicitly tied, but later.
Yeah. Yeah, another way to
Maybe
buff
it would be best to go back to the actual order and then discuss.
Yeah, I would prefer that as well. So let's pass it off to NK. NK, you got anything to add, sir? Well, you were in a bit late, but...
Can I just say hello everyone, and one of the main things I feel that needs to be changed in this game is probably the floatiness of flying. I think that's what makes a lot of the classes and the SMGs overpowered. It's so easy to track people because honestly, once you get in the air, you're pretty much just floating in the direction you took off in, and you know, that's priority one for me, along with you know, possibly a few slight nerfs to the damage on SMGs, but that is all that I really want to see happen at the moment.
Thank you. Matt.
Okay, basically, I want to go back to that point someone said about the Raider needing to be better because it has to travel all the way across the map, to do its job. But, it really only needs to do its job when the Kappa's coming in, to clear the stand, kill all the Hoff or whatever. So it doesn't matter about that extra time because, the Kappa's taking that extra time to get there as well. So it really have to balance it on what it's doing when it's actually doing its job. The second thing is, I know the whole point of this meeting is that you need help to balance the game. And I think one of the things that we really don't have right now is an actual way for us to help you actually do that, except just chatting in a channel like this. I think maybe something like some extra settings on custom servers or even test servers by Hi-Rez, where we can actually test these things before they're put actually into the game, would help a lot, so we can actually go back and do that. And
Just to clarify, you mean public test servers where we deploy you a build that has some changes, or you mean like the ability to alter values on the fly in the game?
either one, really. I mean,
Fair enough.
the whole thing I think from your end will be that public test servers or extra settings and custom servers might be construed as sort of modding to the game, maybe, and maybe you don't want that. So maybe a a sort of back to the whitelisted section of people who can actually mod servers like that. I don't know, something.
Oh God, I just shuddered.
I know.
May I?
Just one more point is that a lot of people have been asking after this meeting was announced of, is there actually any way of knowing what's, actually completely off the table of what you won't do?
Sure. Basically, anything that's like a complete physics overhaul isn't going to happen. Those kind of things. I mean, you got to think about it in. So if it comes down to something like adjusting the values on something, that's anything like that is certainly open for discussion. So if it's like, if a weapon does 85 damage and it should be doing 75, that's definitely open for discussion. If it's that, something like the jetpacks accelerating you only at 78 kilometers an hour, changing that, probably not, because that basically anything that touches the physics system is going to be, in a meaningful way, is off the table for this particular. This is more about class and weapon balance at the moment.
Okay, so things like health kits and stronger disc jumps, that sort of thing.
Health kits, probably not. Yeah, stronger disc jumps, not across the board, as that affects the entire kind of physics and skiing aspect of the game. Now, not to say that those aren't valid topics and something we can discuss, but just for this year, and in terms of things that, like, I have, high confidence that the results of this will affect, it's more along the lines of weapon balance.
What about AR spread?
Can I butt in quickly, Bart?
Yeah, I'm trying this for 5 minutes. And just out of curiosity, are you keeping track of, do you have any kind of statistics about the class choices and how they generally match up against each other, as in which classes do kill the most, which classes are killed the most, and everything?
Yes, so just in general, just to throw this out there, brutes have the highest KDR. So I don't know that stuff is necessarily all that relevant to this discussion.
Do you have that
No, that's really good, isn't it?
Yeah,
that sounds like a valid metric.
Just for like high-level scrims and matches and things, or do you only have the data for everything?
Yeah, we have some manner of isolated data set to. At some point I gave a list of the top 3 teams from Europe and America, and I believe we pulled the stats on those players, and we run that stuff occasionally to sanity check stuff, but I don't have it in front of me, if that's the question.
Okay. No, but it would help us because...
Hey, 30 minutes, first topic.
Okay.
Let's finish up the order.
Can we
finish up the order real quick, guys?
Please.
Yeah, let's finish up. Winners, do you have anything to add?
Just 3 words I wrote down. Buff disc jumping.
Thank you, winners. White Whale, what do you got?
I play jug clearing, which for most comp players, most teams don't do it. So I think the reason is that you see the Raider stacks is pretty much to play jug clearing, you need to be heavily reliant on your mortar shot, and your screen shake is really bad once the autos start hitting you. And we're just a bit lucky. We've got a bit of a funny team, so we actually run a brute as our home D. But I think if you're going to get people going into jug and not just being like a long-range spam kind of newer style of player, like who's not that effective, and getting away from Raider, it's probably the shield pack and screen shake, and like someone said, movement speed, because the jug just takes so much chain fire that the screen shake's so bad that most people just can't be bothered learning how to do it, and the mortar is a difficult weapon to master, and I'd like to see more people doing proper jug at the high level, not just long range spamming like a noob. So yeah, I think something that makes reducing the screen shake would actually mean more people could use jug rather than Raider.
All right, thank you. Zero, you have anything to add?
Yeah, just a small thing. Basically, soldiers have proxy grenades, so if you've got a soldier with a chain gun that does the same damage as the Raider chain gun, and a soldier with a thumper that does less damage than the grenade launcher, mainly because like thumper doesn't dip that much, grenade launcher does, then that means that most people are going to play soldier on D and Raider on O, just because of proxy grenades. Also, chain guns are a bit too easy to use in general. If you are going to add something to nerf them, all over the board, don't do anything that adds anything like randomness, so no spread or anything. If anything, I would suggest something like a static recoil amount, so not a random recoil, but something that knocks your crosshair down by a set amount.
What about the heat mechanic from TV?
Yeah, I mean, just something that makes chaining a bit more difficult, because I mean, it's not uncommon to see someone who can chain and get every single bullet in and an arc in the air. That's just not uncommon at all. I mean, even our raider, Apoc, he does it all the time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so
Before you move on to the next topic, I wanted to just mate, I just wanted to butt in and basically, as an extension to what you were talking about with no physics changes across the board at all, I was wondering if server flags were a possibility to change physics. So in the future, may we be able to see custom servers as a testing ground, basically to see, you know, maybe we can pump up the jetting capability on the custom server.
Can we actually talk about the 40?
potentially, but not, yeah.
Can we do it at the end?
Yeah. So, so
talking points first.
Mabel, you have something else you wanted to add before we kind of go back and summarize?
Hatui and who is it? Jihad for Jesus are really correct in that like you can't play with the balance too much unless you can't play with the balance of Raider, which is like the fundamental of offense and defense, unless you're playing with the balance of everything else. Because like if you nerf Raider too much, it's just like defense is just going to be a brick wall and games are going to be more boring than they are. But I think that you mentioned, what did you mention? Sorry, I had to take notes because, so you mentioned the range. I think that that's an important thing that you can note. I think that one of the things about the NJ4 is that once the weapon projectile velocities were normalized, it has the same velocity as the assault rifle. If there's one way that it's like a bunch of people be like no randomness, no spread, one way of affecting the ability to hit things at range is to change the projectile velocity. I believe there are two of them. One of them is shared by the Falcon and the chain gun, and one of them is shared by pretty much everything else.
That is correct.
Okay, so if you move the NJ4 to that tier, and then maybe like just changed its damage at max fall off range a little bit, that would could make the weapon a little bit more sane at range while still keeping its effectiveness close up. Do either of you?
Yeah, I would like to see the fall off on it. I want you to get a little bit closer with the Raider. You already give it a kit that can, I hate to use the word kit. You give it some tools to be able to be one of the best one-on-one duelers. The problem is you give it this range on a lot of the maps to just shred Pathfinders and Hops and anything from this really, really far away range. And what it does is it forces the D to come out and get me. The whole point of having a defensive advantage is I'm king of the hill. You have to come to me because I'm the defender. Raider kind of takes that away for half of the classes because he'll chain you from 3 hills away and force you to come at it with its shield pack. One of the easiest ways, as you mentioned, is just to give it a harsher penalty for trying to do that chain at range. Make it come up close to expend its shield pack.
Cool.
And so working with that also works with the it makes it a little bit more different from the NJ5, which I think you could reduce the magazine from wherever it is like 34 to about 24 and keep it a little bit more sane. And then you would have like a big clear advantage in being able to use those weapons like at a range or closer up. And then like the NJ5 has like a big dueling disadvantage because of the low rate of fire. So you'd be choosing between what you can do. And I don't think that would affect it much, particularly the projectile velocity thing. The Falcon isn't that hard to use, but it is a little bit awkward at range. But if you get a good beat on someone, it still works. So that was one of the things that I denote.
Great. Okay, thank you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly summarize what we went over here, and then I'm happy to open up the floor to discussion, or we can move on to the next topic if you guys think that this one has been expended. So quickly, the notes that I have here, weapon damage swap or rebalancing between the AR and NJ5, some kind of very, very targeted nerf at the shield pack that is not overboard, a lot of concern that that making the Raider not effective enough at the offensive role creates, imbalances throughout the rest of the game. Some concern over kind of the EMP grenade and whiteout grenade and how the Raider gets out of utility even with the continued damage of a normal frag type grenade. NJ5 having too much clip size came up a few times. Maybe disc AR being a potential solution for the soldier to be more powerful. Certainly it seems that the AR needs to get buffed, seems to be the consensus, or at least brought into line with the NJ4. The preference seems to be for bringing up the damage on that and slightly reducing the damage on the NJ5 rather than, NJ4 rather than nerfing the NJ4 to be down to that level. SMG spread was mentioned, and as was recoil or additional fall off or spread as potential options to kind of further what?
And the heat mechanic from TV.
Right, yeah, or the heat mechanic from TV.
Stay away from spread rather than include spread.
No, you did. I was just mentioning it. That was one of the options. As well as screen shake from the screen shake is part of what makes Juggernaut at least a less preferable option to the Raider. And that then some specific things that came up from Mabel there around the NJ4 and the projectile speed versus the NJ5 and how those become a little bit more differentiated. Is there anything else that we're leaving on the table here, guys? Here is let's give us 5 minutes for open forum.
Okay. Weapon handling and hold to fire on weapons that all of
yes.
Free reload and for the LAR, hands down for everything. It needs to be there. It needs to function on every single weapon in the game.
I would agree with that too.
Lack
I'd
of
like to see a hold down.
Lack of effectiveness of defense is a huge thing.
Defense is very effective. It's just effective in the wrong way. It's just effective under snipe and other things.
Do that next. Do that next.
Okay, so as we'll go through it, one last thing is everybody calls for a nerf and chain across the board. I just want to mention all the previous games. Chain was half the game, if not more of the game. Chain is not somehow super buffed in this game. Chain in T1 was amazing. It's constant damage. It's damage during chase. So again, if you...
Yeah, but we are talking
think people want to
about a
no one
new
wants to
game.
get rid of chain. They just want chain to be less effective. They don't want chain to be dominated.
All I'm saying is I'm all for that because I think we need to see an emphasis on the fun of explosive weapons.
Yeah.
But I'm with you in across the board chain. But again, you start nerfing one of these things, you have to buff something else, and you start nerfing chain. You got to give us a little bit of speed on chains.
This is all related to lethality, and all of that's related to chain gun, and all of that's second to last. So...
I'd like to see.
Okay.
If anyone agrees with me in this, I think chains as they are sort of fine, but the reason that it's other things, not the damage or the or any of the core mechanics around them that are the problem. It's things like the passive reload, the long passive reload, and also the time between changing weapons.
Yeah,
I agree.
If the quick draw change was sort of global, it wasn't a perk, it was just applied to the game, I think we'd actually, people would be using those projectile weapons a lot more. And I think that's the correct way to bring those weapons back into the game and stop the SMG dominance, is to, rather than to change any of the weapons themselves, just change that weapon swap time. It doesn't need to be so horrifically long. It punishes you if you want to, if you want to use a projectile weapon on the floor when the target touches down, you're punished for the huge amount of time you've got, swapping in and out with your chain, which is the optimum way of killing someone in the air. As it is, your SMG is the most powerful thing on the ground and in the air, but only because swapping out of it takes so long.
You can basically kill someone.
I agree totally with Arky.
Swap.
Because on D, when you're playing Stand D, for example, and you have the Thumper in, Raider starts to chain you, you can't really... it takes way too long for you to react with the AR, unless he's on the ground and you try to Thumper in.
Lethality across the board will get bigger. Pathfinders will become more lethal. Even the Raider will become more lethal because now with his innate weapon swap, he doesn't have to pick up survival. No, he will because he may not for the AR. Sure. Sure, but you're going to make everyone more lethal. If you think the Raider is going to become the least buffed in lethality by giving quick draw across the board, you might be right, but now he's just going to arcs you on your way down, quick draw back to NJ4.
That's why we need to test it in test servers. But
I need to throw in some 2 cents here on the chasing capacity of the
We're
chain
doing
gun.
that like later.
Yeah, we will get to that.
Now.
What are we arguing about right
Sniping.
now then?
Like the sniping. This is like everyone arguing open for like 5 minutes, which I think is
Yeah,
over.
he's right.
Yeah.
We should stop.
And we
Stop.
need
No,
to move
no,
on
no.
to the
Hang on,
next.
hang on.
All right, we'll move on to the next topic. You're all.
Hang on. Let me speak. Please.
So
Thank you.
one
Let
more
me
final
speak.
thought on this.
Wait, let me speak. So, on this, the chain gun, the only weapon that you guys have developed, which is actually brilliant, you guys are going to crucify me for saying this, but the Jackal is an effective chasing weapon, and it is the only other option to the chain gun. Unfortunately, it's banned in comp for crazy reasons, but I feel like it can actually be a great weapon if balanced properly, and other weapons should follow in that vein to have more effective chasing weapons to buff defense in this game.
I think before anyone reacts, we all need to remember that Hollow likes 10v10 and to just move on.
Hey.
I
Before I
do
go-
so as well.
Relax.
Regardless of what you guys do, Bart, something has got to, like, you've got to make changes, and you can start small and work your way up to bigger changes, but we've got to see these things happening. It's been a long time we've been saying these things. And secondly, I want to echo that this game also has really high lethality. I'd rather see buffs in nerfs to possibly overpowered weapons as opposed to buffs to counter weapons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is
You
all
wanna be
second to
ca-
last, and let's move
You
on
want to
to
be
the next
careful.
Okay, great. Yep.
Increase lethality.
Okay, I just listened all the time. Can I just get this off my chest now? I also...
This will be the last thing on Raider.
Thank you. Nerfing is probably the way to go because a fight has to take longer than just being ended quicker.
Fair enough. Okie dokie, guys. So the next topic that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be the relationship between the sniper and the capper. Now this is a pretty difficult one. So I would like to focus the discussion, and this is around not a new feature pack perk thing. So I know that I've had some preliminary discussions with many of you around what are the options to do it, and we've had all kinds of, arguments and discussions around, how sniper bullets shouldn't affect regen potentially, or some kind of pack that gives you regen, but if you get sniped, it takes it off the top, but it has more in your total health, or some kind of counter pack where you activate it, and then if you get sniped or you get hit with a non-explosive source, it starts your regen. So there's a few different things out there, but I think that to be honest with you, the change that we are evaluating right now is simply that if you die as a sniper, your next respawn has an extra 5 seconds added to it. That is honestly where we are leaning currently, and I would like to get your opinion on that, starting with Hollow.
Sorry, I missed that.
Next. Okay, quiet.
Just come back to me around.
Yep. Starting with Mabel, please.
Okay, so we're talking about... Wait, I missed that.
What?
Next.
Starting with Ale.
Basically my opinion on snipers is, and the whole chasing thing is, you can't really nerf snipers until you nerf the speed that cappers can go at anyway. Especially if you want chasing to become an option, cappers can't be going 300 all the time. And the whole sniper respawning thing, 5 seconds probably still isn't enough because they can still snipe you on the route, respawn 10 seconds later, and kill you before you even get to the flag, so... You just need big changes in the whole of the sniping.
Okay. Arky.
Yeah, there are loads and loads of little changes that need to be made, but I think, I know I play sniper, so people are gonna, crucify me for it and just say I'm motivated by my own love of the class, but I think that sort of, changing the respawn delay is really unintuitive, just changing it for one class and sort of a really, really ugly solution to it. I think that fixing the core problems, if you can actually identify what they are, and I think everyone has their own opinions of what it is that causes it, is actually the way to go. And I know I'm and this is entirely my opinion, I know the majority of people in here would completely disagree with me, but just for the record, like, I would rather see some kind of gimmicky item than an unintuitive change to the respawn delay when you know, the last class you played as sniper. I don't think that's the way to go to fix it. It's
Of course.
sort of awkward.
Band-aids are awkward.
Can I just
Thank you.
for a second? I know everyone, you know, not spawning basically for an extra 5 seconds is not fun for the player.
Hey, dude. Order.
Sorry.
Can we just go in order? Alternatively,
Yeah.
my thoughts on the... I had thought about the just increasing
Order
the
as well.
respawn timer,
Order.
but it does seem...
Copro is the next. Relax.
But it
Well,
but it
Boss
does
was
seem rather
nice.
unintuitive, and like, why you just, you know, it doesn't make sense to new players or anything. But what if you just created a new spawn point inside of every base? Because the big problem is that people spawn in places where it's like a perfect, you know, line of sight, right? So that's just one idea. Another one was just, yeah, I'd thought about the, you know, removing the respawn timer break that the sniper bullets do. I don't know. We could try it, but we got to try something, right? This is the whole point of this. We got to try these things. We could try that. You could, I don't know about a new item or anything, but you could also just try slowing down the rate of fire on the sniper and just see what happens. But these things need to be tried. Experiment.
One thing that I was considering, so there is some, basically you could hard cap the sniper's range, but that feels really terrible to be like, you can shoot half the map and then after that it's 0 because you can see people but you can't hit them, which is kind of weird. But does the damage of the sniper rifle really make a difference, or is it simply, would it be would it be dominant doing 1 damage?
This is
Right
the point
now,
I was trying to bring up, right?
Still would be.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
The respawn timer
your
coming out
route
as far
is
as I can
buggered.
see.
Yeah. Okay, great. Krista, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, the problem is that at the moment when playing at high levels, the whole tactic of a team is around the enemy sniper. So this can make people think about how the sniper is overpowered in this game. If you take a look at a normal run during a match, I mean, he's able to start hitting you at distance on maps like Drydock, Crossfire, Arcs. He's able to hit you as soon as you respawn. And then if you are able to get him, he will start hitting you with the Falcon. I mean, I try to, but I cannot see a reason to give a weapon like the Falcon to a class that is already able to kill you at 100 meters of distance. I really cannot find the reason of it. And yeah, well, another thing maybe could be, I'm not sure about the delayed response, to be honest. Maybe it could work, but probably the fix for it could be to change the rate of fire. I mean, maybe a little bit more like the Fizz rifle and not like the BXT1, and absolutely nerf the Falcon. It's ridiculous. People are able to chase with the Falcon. People are able to clear their stand with the Falcon. A sniper. We are not talking about a raider. We are not talking about a soldier. A sniper, a class that is able to hit you from distance, can literally suck your HP in 5 seconds with the Falcon. That's all.
Thank you. And quickly, Johnny, if I could get you to pull White Whale back up, please, from the skybox. And the floor is yours, David Bowie.
All right. I think a lot of good points have been made. The main power of the sniper is that it can totally screw over the region of a capper mid-route, and he's pretty much dead in the water at that point. So a damage nerf isn't going to really affect that. A rate of fire nerf, unless it's huge, also wouldn't really affect that. I think the main problem with the sniper is because he can just respawn and instantly be in a position to do that same job again 5 seconds later. So personally, while it does feel like a band-aid and it's awkward, I think that either an additional respawn time or an awkward respawn location would be possible band-aid fixes that could fix it. We kind of need to test that. The other thing is, there's maps, The sniper I feel is more balanced on Katabatic, say, than a map like Arcs or Crossfire, where he can just like shoot you as soon as you respawn. Because that map, the Capper can actually hide a little bit better on routes. But again, that's kind of too big of a change to make. So that's all I got.
Cheers. Thanks, Greg.
Again, I agree with most what Chris Light said, because the Falcon is, in my opinion, the principal reason why the sniper is broken. The sniper should be able to snipe any capper if he's not disrupted, but the problem is he can out-duel nearly a raider as well with the Falcon if he sniped him before. And of course there's problems with spawn location and stuff, but the Falcon is way too much overpowered right now.
Has nothing
and
to do.
Can it, Mabel?
Order.
And I think that the main problem is the Falcon should be, we could try to just ban it in some matches and see how it goes, and then try something else to see if the sniper is still overpowered.
Great, thank you. Guru?
4 points. First one, 7 or 8 second respawn across the board on all classes. Increase the rate of fire time on the BXT. Spawn points need to be lower altitude on all maps, or even inside the bases. Distance cap in general on the BXT and the phase rifle, and I think the Falcon's just fine.
Thank you. Hatui?
I don't know if everybody agrees with me on this, but the only problem that I have when I'm going against a sniper is their actual respawn location. Like if I kill them in point A and point C is really far away, they have a chance to spawn at point C and I really have nothing to do with that. It's all luck based in my opinion, why the capper doesn't get out. So that's my opinion on snipers, if the respawn locations. That's the only problem I have versus snipers. That's it.
Thank you. Jihad?
I think that one, they're a counter to fast caps and they need to be there. If you're going to try and nerf them by rate of fire nerfs, weapon damage nerfs, and everything like that, you're making it very complicated. You're trying to get at nerfing snipers in a very in a method that's going to take weeks to actually test out. I agree with everyone else's problems with snipers. Now the biggest issue with them is clearing them. They spawn in hard to reach places, exactly as other people said. I won't reiterate too much. It's their low cost of death that's my principal issue. Yes, many problems between Falcon and whatnot, but really the only one I want addressed is to increase their cost of death. And that while other people have keep mentioning to increase their spawn time, I don't want to do that. Just list your goal. Your goal is to make sure when you clear a sniper, when you take the time to go away from the stand, which is difficult to go to those high places, when you finally clear them, you want to actually clear them for the play, right? Unlike the other classes where you clear them, they have to now come back into position. And your method of making them spawn longer may be too drastic. You might be able to get to the same goal of preventing them from being cleared, spawning, sniping you, or what everybody else does. When they're half-life, they'll kill themselves, respawn, and shoot you anyway. They won't even wait for you to kill them. Is to just make them not shoot on start. That way they can spawn, they can falcon, they can worry about a flag scramble, they can reposition once they do spawn from a clear, they can put mines down, they can do all the things that other characters do. And you put them on the same timer, you put them on the same respawn timer as the others, you just prevent them from shooting for 5 seconds on the start. It's the same equivalent, which is they can't spawn snipe, which makes them halfway immune to clearing. And at the same time, you don't have to deal with super complex things like, we're going to add specific spawn locations for some class or another. One class having specific death times than spawn times than another. Look, at the end of the day, stop trying to engineer like a space pen and just take a pencil. Take the easiest one and see if it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thanks. I thought you were wrapping up.
I'm with everyone. That's the one change I would like to see before anything else.
Okay, thank you. Blue Jay, anything to add?
Yeah, what Arcade Dizzle was saying, I agree wholeheartedly with most of his points on there. One idea that me and my team discussed that maybe something to look at, like how the Infiltrator has 900 health and the other classes have 800. The Sniper, I mean, in general, that's supposed to be the weakest armored class. So why not
lower that sniper's health to maybe 700 or 600 health or something like that to maybe, kind of make it. I know snipers already kind of kill themselves out once you get a couple shots on them, but that little bit of lower health, I think that'll fix maybe the Falcon problem, them being able to, duel and fight and, kind of engage raiders and stuff too, by them having, 200 lower health. That kind of eliminates them from being a dueling class. And then I'm for trying the idea of maybe different spawn location for different classes. I mean, I don't know how that'll work. Maybe have your sniper and maybe your tech class, their spawn points are indoors, and your brute class and raider class, their spawn points are outdoors. Just something like that, because a problem I would anticipate with that is you may see a lot of turtling. Like if a team's turtle and everybody spawns inside, then that'd be a problem. But if you only have certain classes that are like weak inside, do that indoor spawning, then that I think that may fix that, and then it would still make sense to new players. Okay, I get this class spawns indoors, this class spawns in towers, this class spawns outside. So that may be something to think about.
Thank you. Mask?
I don't mind the possibly lowering the health. That might not be a bad idea, but let's not nerf it too hard. Specific spawn locations I don't like for each class, or just for the sniper in general. I don't like increasing the spawn timer. That to me just, there's no point to it. I would actually prefer to see more damage output from the sniper, but a lot longer on the regen per shot fired. I'd like to see it for both sniper classes as well. I think you should be able to hit, if you get a good shot, I'd say at least 80%, if not 90% of the health. But I wouldn't go so far as to, the same thing as minaring a light with your Pathfinder disc, one-shot kill. But at least wound them significantly. And the regen, that's something that's got to be at least played with if we're going to either not allow the sniper to affect the regen. There's got to be some type of metric that we can at least attempt to look at.
Right on. Thank you. Scorch.
As a capper, I feel like whenever I am coming in on a route and my team clears the sniper, even if they're able to kill him, he will be back and shooting at me within 5 seconds. And usually you cannot. I find it very hard, like for a team to clear a sniper and keep that sniper suppressed. Like it's through no fault of my team that I'll still get sniped out because of the fact that they're able to respawn and shoot so quickly. So I did like the idea of making it so that the sniper can spawn in but be unable to shoot straight away. Like you, as Jihad said, allow the sniper to do everything that any other class can do, but just prevent that sniping ability. Like even just like you could do a combination of a couple of things, like have the sniper rate of fire, like you would have to increase the rate of fire, but maybe buff the damage a little bit in response to that, and then just increase the amount of time that it takes for the sniper to be able to start sniping again once they are cleared, so that if your team does their job properly, then there's actually like you're actually given the chance to get away with the flag, and not just you can clear them and then it's up to luck whether they spawn in a bad location to be unable to snipe you or not. That's all.
Sure, thank you. Shadow.
First, I just want to say that I actually really enjoy the sniper metagame. I like how it's used spotting and it's quite effective on the cappers. But I think the main problem people are having, and I think this is agreed with everybody, is that it's just that when the sniper, as Scorch said, when the sniper K's out, he can be back in 5 seconds and he's already going. And because he's so far away from your clearers, or the clearers might be on like the other side of the base, you can't guarantee, or even you're not even likely to be able to clear him again. So he's getting free shots, which isn't good. You shouldn't have aspects in your game which aren't player controlled. Well, something as important as that, as the sniper, which is hugely fundamental in the current metagame, and will be for a long time, I'm sure. So the thing we need to address is making it harder, or making it not possible, for the sniper just be able to spawn and kill off a Kappa or whatever, get shots away free. And I don't think specific things like adding an extra respawn time to the sniper or something is really viable. I don't think, as much as we love to talk about comp, I don't think that's going to translate well into pub play either. And I also don't think that's something Hi-Rez would even be willing to do. I don't think I've seen any developer ever even considering things like that, at least in my experience. But at the same time, it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. So a lot of cool ideas are coming out, but I think maybe something like a setup time, or maybe playing it with energy or something, and having a sniper start with no energy, or even like, I don't know. But I don't want to see specifics. I'm not gonna say I'm sure on this at all, but I don't want to see specific things like spawn locations for snipers and extra respawn times for snipers coming into it. I feel like when you get into that specific stuff, you're opening it up. So, okay, well then maybe we'll make specific stuff Raider next time. Maybe Raider has different locations as well, and that gets a bit messy, and I don't think that should be around. It needs to be a change which isn't quite so specific. I'm rambling now, so I'll stop.
Thank you much, Stepo.
Okay.
Before he starts, can you drag Cause in here? He's up one of the main US teams, and he just came in.
Yeah, yeah, can we drag up Cause? And I see Zato has joined us. Is Zato here in lieu of Tui for Legion?
Can't take it anymore.
Yes, hello.
Okay, great. So Stepo, carry on.
RIP Tui.
Okay, to the delay, I would also say no, because that would just throw the whole team out of balance. It would just be weird to have to play without the sniper for a long time. And what people somehow tend to forget at the moment is that the defense is currently built around the sniper, which is also a problem, I think, because as soon as the sniper gets nerfed, the rest of the defense has been nerfed significantly lately. It will be really, really hard, I think, because there's still no real way to chase. So to the spawn points in base, that would also not work, because if you as offense have cleared the flag stand, you want the defense, the whole defense to be away and not just respawn in front of you and be able to kill you. That wouldn't make sense. The only suggestion so far that I would like is the health reduction. That might really work. And a little nerf on the Falcon as well, because I think any attempt to decrease the rate of fire would also, again, just cripple the defense as it is already. Because if the sniper has no way of shooting that guy, the flag is gone. I guess that's it, yeah.
Thank you. Svenna.
Our problems are the respawn times, I guess, and the respawn positions. I don't think it makes sense to have a sniper being killed and then being able to shoot at the capper after 5 seconds. I guess that's about it. Falcon is okay
Thanks.
with us.
Fair enough, thank you. NK, anything to add?
Yeah, two possibilities I think there might be able to be to tweak the sniper. One possibility is I noticed that there's no additional armors in the game. There's a, soldier armor and all of that. They've all got one armor. Perhaps an extra armor for the Pathfinder specifically at the moment that takes away damage or something from the sniper round, but would also have a disadvantage, like perhaps plus mass, so they can't go so fast. Would be good. And the second idea that I had was we've played a few spawn core games. They're quite good. They stop the sniper from coming out so fast. But obviously, if you spawn in the wrong location, nowhere near an inventory station, you're pretty much buggered. So with spawn core, with maybe spawn locations close to inventory stations, would allow most people to spawn their normal armors quickly, but would also add 5 or 10 seconds to the delay of a sniper coming up. That's about all.
Cheers, thank you. Matt?
Yeah, I just want to, sorry for butting in earlier, and the point I was trying to make was that, the game, it's a game, it's meant to be fun, and I don't think sitting in obs for an extra 5 seconds is fun for anyone. I'm really against additional delays. I mean, the old system in Triad, it was instant respawn or close to, and, you spawned without kit, so you weren't as effective, but you could still do something. You were still there actually doing something. And I think that's something we shouldn't move away from. Maybe not actually go back to the old system, but, just try not to go any further from it. And someone mentioned the respawn locations being too far away, and I think you can't look at that and say, well, everyone should then spawn in a similar place, because then you could just basically camp that place and kill everyone that's respawning, and that would be utterly terrible. Next is spotting. I mean, it's been brought up several times on the forum that spotting is just way too forgiving. You know, you can see someone from across the map. You just spot random locations around your view, and you see all the cappers. It's just stupid. You know, it needs to be reduced. Maybe a tighter cone or something. I don't know. And that would also limit the effectiveness of the sniper actually hitting people from range, because they won't be able to see where they are. That might also need a reduction on view distance in the jet trails as well, because I know a lot of snipers use the jet trails to actually see where people are. Next also is the the frenemy color, where you can add the enemy cappers to your friend list.
Yeah.
Fucking brown or whatever. That's really, really stupid.
Yeah, that will be disabled as a server flag.
Okay, cool. But yeah, pretty much it really. And just spawn sniping in general, just as in killing people as they spawn. Something needs to be done there, because I've seen people quitting the game, or at least stopping capping, because they just spawn and die instantly, and it needs to go somehow.
Yep. Thank you. Winners still on disc jumps.
Yeah, well, I don't have, I want to keep it moving because I know we've got a lot to cover and I want to hear what these guys have to say. I like the consensus on alternate spawns, possibly indoors or something like that. That sounds like a good idea.
Cheers, thank you. White Whale.
Yeah, keep it moving, but I think that I agree, don't increase the amount of time that it's going to take to respawn. Don't fuck with that too much. Maybe just, I like the idea of it that you just maybe can't snipe straight away as you spawn. There's a weapon set up or something. Really the pre-grab snipes, which I think are sort of more of an issue. I think that the spotting that someone discussed is really core to that. When you get spotted as a capper, you're pretty much fucked on a lot of maps. And like Crossfire, for example, that's why everyone's rock capping. And you know, and now they're just looking for the rock cap, and it's annoying. And the spotting is necessary because cappers are so fast, but just make it a bit tighter, make it a bit harder to use, so you can't just randomly spam it. Then you got him, and the offense, bang, you're gone. That's it.
Right on. Thank you. Zato for Legion. What do you have?
Just the same points about changing sniper spawns, and I don't think there's a problem with the Falcon. I think there's a problem with getting to the sniper after he's dead.
Thank you. DM?
Yeah, just two things really. The regen thing, if you get shot once, your regen stops, and that's really bad. And the second thing, if a sniper spawns, they take a shot on you straight away. So he suggested something like a regen pack that you could do when you wanted. That sounds kind of cool. And maybe if they're in spawn immunity, they can't shoot for 5 seconds or whatever.
Right on. Thank you. Back up to the...
Now that we're what he said about the armor was really good. Like, you could have an armor that protects you, or you have a regen kit in that, and maybe sacrifice the time. Sorry to interrupt.
Cheers, thank you.
Now that,
Johnny, you were saying?
Yeah, now that we're all the way down the list, NVC had some small suggestions.
Wait. Let's, we need to hit Hollow and Mabel to get all the way around first, please.
Sure.
Hollow, to you.
Alright, so special case nerfs are never a good thing. So raising the spawn on one class isn't really a good solution to this. The main issue with the class that I see so far is that right now we're nerfing the weapons and the capabilities of it. However, the main issue falls on actually map design and line of sight breaking. Currently, the maps are very flat. There's no real, like, hidden ways for a capper to go, and also there's no fog. In every other Tribes game, there has been fog, and there has been larger hills to break the line of sight, so snipers weren't nearly as big of a problem as they are currently. Also, the hit scan sniper rifle is a serious issue. So, fix the maps, don't nerf the class.
Okay. Thank you. Mabel, you will be the anchor here for the conversation.
All right. So one thing to Hollow is that, like, you say that T2 maps, like, sorry, not just T2, like, previous maps that people played in previous games did not, like, have these enormous LOS blockers. Like, the hills aren't much bigger. The significant difference is fog. And the significant difference actually doesn't even extend to the sniper rifle. The sniper rifle in T2 is about on par with the BXT in terms of damage dealing potential, numbers, and recharge rate. It's almost the same, which is, it's almost the same, except that it takes your energy when you fire it. So I don't really think that, like, pointing to previous tribe scans and look, and, like, saying, like, those were hit scan too, right? All of those rifles were hit scan. So I don't think this really represents reality.
Server side.
Well, it is server side. It's ping compensated.
Say that, but in TV it wasn't hit scan. And
oh, you're right.
It's not the only issue though. The issue is you snipe people when they've got 0 health because they're just going to regen.
Right.
It's a completely different issue.
So the problem with snipers versus cappers is that the sniper really the fundamental problem is that there's two things, right? There's the accelerate. A capper needs to spend a lot of health to accelerate at all. People just start roots doing double nitron DJ, and they are like cruising around at like less than 300 health, which is like the max range damage for a fully charged sniper. So if you look at that, like, it's pretty obvious why these sort of things are happening. And then once you have the interaction of regen, which is required for capping because of how much health you have to spend to start moving, the regen which is required, the sniper puts damage on it and it breaks that entire balance that the capper is. A lot of this problem comes from the fact that you have to spend so much health and then rely on regeneration. The regeneration mechanic is really when fitting into like the way that snipers work, where you can just see clean across the map, and that's not really changing. Like, that's a graphical parameter that people have. People are like, oh, there should be more fog. It's like, it's a modern game, and it's actually not something, Bart, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that they're willing to change. There is actually distance fog in the game right now. You can see it. It clearly tints things blue as they get farther away, but it's not like just the thick complete wall that you had in previous games because of graphical constraints, and you're not actually going to be able to move away from that. Saying that sort of stuff is just like you're missing the point of you're working within a system of constraints. So if you're looking to like change it, I don't think there's any easy answer. I don't think that all the spawn stuff and like all these like little quick band-aid fixes they all look to me like they could work, but they're not necessarily, like, they don't fit well into like a well-designed game, and they also ignore the part where you actually do need to change the rest of defense's capabilities if you don't have snipers like stopping people from a million miles away, which is like the main interaction of people with the capper, right? That's the main complaint, is that's what's happening. So I mean, I don't think that it benefits anyone to be talking about like putting these sniper suppression is a problem, but it doesn't benefit us to like be just talking about, oh, we'll just change sniper this way, we'll change sniper that way, without taking it. It needs to go hand in hand with changes to chasing and actually changes to capping's overall maximum potential. And chasing needs to go up, like cappers need to be less capable. I don't think that anyone has really said anything like that. But
I did.
Anyone? Oh, okay.
Okay, thanks, Mabel. Johnny, you wanted to add something?
Yeah,
And that'll be the last on this.
some quick suggestions on the sniper. One, in combination with the spawning in bases or in lower areas, would be to spawn everyone, or maybe only the sniper, with a lower amount of energy. 0 or 25%, so that it takes you even longer to get up to a really high place to get your sniping perch on. And another suggestion, which came from NBC, which had nothing really to do with balance, was that the sniper should auto zoom out after every shot, and then you could have a menu button which auto zooms back in, but it would build in a delay between shots. A mechanical delay.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Can I say one last thing?
Fine with me, Pershing. Go for it.
I want to give caution one more time, in that you have a lot of problems with snipers. Start with the one that everybody has a problem with. If you do that one nerf, you might see a lot of things fixed. You have things like rock routes happening. You have things like people might actually.
Well, to be fair, the rock routes are going to be patched out.
What? What?
Oh no, no!
Crossfire
strategy.
Seriously, you wouldn't believe how long I've spent practicing those things.
We've been testing a fix for them. It seems to be fixed. Basically, you'll still be able to redirect yourself using the rocks in the same way. It's just gonna decrease your speed, and you take damage based on the decreased speed like you would running into anything else in the game.
You're trolling us, right?
Alright.
But you know that
Can
you
you
just
fix
broke
trolling?
things. Like you seriously just like.
Are you trolling?
It's almost impossible to
He's
play
trolling.
Crossfire against a real defense without using that redirection like incredibly heavily.
Yeah.
And then like conversely, it's almost impossible. Like if you nerf, like you can touch sniper a little bit, but after some point, it's just like you can't chase people still, and it's just going to be a bunch of really fast games. You're going to need to change the format. You're going to need to change the time. You're going to need to like change. We're going to need to go like best of 5 to like actually determine which team does better.
If we get rid of rock routes?
Yeah.
Now we can start playing Crossfire and
I mean, to be fair, we did not have rock routes for quite some time before.
What's the problem with rock routes?
was so
Like, what's the problem with rock routes?
Can I let me so when I talk over you until you let me speak there, guy. Okay. The reason why I was going to mention is you should cautiously nerf the sniper, because rock routes are a wonderful counter to it. The problem we have with sniper is that he can just nail you when you're on your low hit points. You can just destroy a run before you even make the attempt on the stand.
Yeah.
That's the second thing. So there's two things again: the inability to clear and the ability to take out the capper from the play even before the play is even going to be made at the stand. So you dedicate 4 people to a play, but your capper dies, and it's almost a wasted effort. So I was gonna warn you to be careful, because rock routes were actually giving us a wonderful counter to it. You'll sacrifice some speed for the ability to come in low, and now that if you're gonna patch that out, then I take back everything I just said, and let's look at even further. Let's look for heavy. We have to be more heavy-handed. We have to be more heavy-handed with a sniper.
Or can you tell us why rock routes are being removed?
Because the forum says they're stupid, bro. Don't worry about it.
That one is because they were working outside of the intended design of the game, basically.
Well, but skiing was also right. Skiing.
come on.
This whole game has been
I know.
changes. So
It's just stupid.
Let's leave it. It's not been patched in yet. There's still the opportunity, but there is a fix that's in a development build that yeah. So
this forum is intended to address issues like that, right? And so if you want the communities and the competitive community's opinion on matters like this, which I think this is a pretty big element to gameplay right now, that's not worth talking about here?
No, it is. I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to talk about it here. I was of the opinion that I personally think that there is. I really like emergent play, and I think that the rock routes were certainly the most interesting thing that's come out of Tribes Ascend, besides the punting, in terms of new mechanics to a Tribes game. Although it is pretty broken in terms of just how the code was working to make that happen. It was a mess. So it actually what actually it was going on there is that it has to do with what fixed dead stops originally, was that it was how the server was relocating you and you weren't bleeding off any speed. So that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that the rock route is dead. It just means that we are evaluating how best to deal with it internally. And here's the thing, is that front to front routes are not a good thing for the game. And to front to front routes like you have on Tartarus and Rain Dance, you can come in and go out in the same direction you came in, and it's like crazy broken and looks ridiculous, and it's almost impossible to chase. The second thing being that a side route can quickly become a back to front route with the rock bounces. Now, therein lies the biggest problem, is that if you run a side route, you can then redirect it to go directly towards your flag, which kind of defeats the purpose of the side route. So even if you add maps that don't have access to a back to front, as long as there's rock bouncing, you can still get a side route out in a vector that takes you directly back to your flag. So those were the main concerns.
John,
this is completely messing with the balance of the game.
Thing is, Crossfire is going to be unstable now.
Yeah,
it's going to be sniper lines.
The fact of the matter is, Crossfire is only like Crossfire was one of the least the perception I had of it anyway was that it was one of the least popular maps for comp play, just because it was absolutely sniper dominated. Every Kappa route was 100% visibility. There was no, there were no real viable routes where you were actually moving and you weren't spotted from the second you left your base.
Well,
and
okay,
then
look
when
at Crossfire a month ago. A month ago, there were no Kappas on Crossfire. Everyone just clustered it.
True enough.
Because
how much of that was due to the punting thing?
Okay,
I'm
but
not quite sure.
how much of the problem is grabbing with a rock route before you get to the flag is fine. I have no problem with that. But afterwards, and redirecting after you have the flag, I think is retarded. And if you want chasing in the game, you're gonna have to sacrifice it, or it's not gonna work.
Agree.
Maybe the solution is it's not to make the game work on every map we currently have, and to make new maps that work with a better game. So maybe Crossfire might be broken without rock routes, but does it really matter if we don't play Crossfire ever again? We have new maps coming.
So maybe this
what are the new maps? Wait, hold on. If you change this up, what are the new maps, and how many maps are you going to replace? How are you going to replace?
Well, I was thinking Dangerous Crossing. I don't know about you guys.
But Dry Dock without the back.
With double doom bring up.
Could I propose something quickly? Feel free to punch me in the face. I think the solution might be to have it so that you said your fix adds damage and a speed reduction.
It works just like cratering into the ground.
Maybe that I would just maybe the solution is to have them nerf your speed, but maybe not do any damage. Because then they wouldn't mess with people setting routes and whatnot up. But you wouldn't get a huge advantage.
You guys, we're all talking about how rock routes are ruining, how removing them will ruin some balance that we have right now. But the only reason you want rock routes in the first place is because because of the insult of the sniper, right? It's because of the insult of the fact that the sniper is going to see you and snipe you when you're at the low health that you need to be at to get any viable speed. That's what you're trying to get. Stop right there. That's all you're saying. It's not about spotting or the flag standing or anything like that. You're just worried about being too vulnerable when you're at low health up top.
I'm not.
No, you're not. What else?
I don't think it's entirely.
It doesn't matter how much health you've got as a sniper. If you take a bullet, whether you're at full health or none, it's over. You've got to restart your route. The timings with your regeneration you watch Kappas. Sometimes they'll be regenerating as they hit the flag stand. It's perfectly timed. If you get shot anywhere into your route, that's that route bugger.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That's why you're all mad about the removal of rock routes, right? It's because of that. It's the ability to knock you off course. To reset your route immediately from just any one snipe, right? So if you do, the game won't be ruined. I don't think the game will be ruined if you remove the rock routes. You just have a new issue that you'll have to address that was somehow coincidentally addressed by rock routes.
Yes,
we
need to work. Okay, so the point is that, right, what Jihad for Jesus is saying is this any change you do to sniper and any change you do to capper is implicitly tied and cannot really be treated separately from changes to chasing, and changes to defense in general.
Well, then that's a fantastic segue to talk about chasing.
What I'm saying is,
one more thing.
Art is so done with this.
One more
thing.
One more thing.
Okay.
Okay, so one important thing that has been mentioned over and over again in this conversation, and it's a core issue, it's with map design. Both of these issues have come up due to map design. And
all right, hey, we're not changing the laps right now. That's not what this is about. It's not about whether or not it helps, but it's not. The maps aren't going to be changed. We're not going to go back and change Crossfire because of changing rock bounces. So
the game is not over. The game is not over if Hi-Rez takes out rock routes. We just have a new consideration, a new bullet to worry about.
If you balance chasing, you balance sniping, it doesn't matter as much. So let's talk about chasing.
Exactly. The fix needs to come at the same time as
Order! Order in the tribal council!
Can I ask a question about maps?
Christ.
No,
sure.
chasing.
Well,
the reasoning behind keeping the map editor away from the public?
Oh man. So basically, the answer is that the game is free to play. So if you release your bag of tricks to the public, what incentivizes them to keep using your game and your service? So
Maybe they'll pay for it.
yeah. And then here's the other thing is that even if we say, here's a map editor, go nuts, we'll take your designs and we'll make them and sell them and, give you 5% of the profit or something like that.
No. You just give him a little gold and you have to apply them to the service.
I understand. Here's the thing. There's a lot of compounded reasons that there is no map editor, not the least of which is that Unreal Engine 3 maps are not really suited to be made by amateurs in terms of the assets that would be needed. We'd have to put a lot of time in to create assets to make maps that people had blocked out work and look proper and be up to the art snuff of Tribes Ascend. And furthermore is that the size of the maps, we could not release that many community maps very often, because that's the same reason that we don't release maps every week, is that the maps are like 200-300 megs and the download size gets up really, really quickly after that. So there's a few reasons, but ultimately it's not my decision. So it's going to be, you can scream all you want about it, but I'm not going to be able to make that change for you.
I'm pretty sure it makes any difference, because you have a whole community of map makers, and it doesn't matter if 1,000 of them are really bad at it. As long as there are a few really, really good ones that can make maps up to your standard, that's fine. And,
and you're
you
getting
can
the
filter
community
those out and then release one a month. That's what TF2 does.
And you're getting the community to make maps for you. You're getting work done for you, and the maps will be
90
tested.
Ultimately, this doesn't matter. We're not going to talk to Hi-Rez about their business model and how they monetize their content. We're here fucking talking about the game, so their business model is their game.
For the record, don't be naive enough to think that there aren't people in the community who are better at making maps.
Yep. So let's move on. So quickly to sum up on snipers, basically it seems like we were in most agreement that the change has to hit either in spawn points, respawn timer lesser than that, or what Persian was saying around some kind of limitation to when you can charge or fire the BXT, or any sniper rifle that matter after spawning as a sniper, and maybe some consideration into rate of fire and damage range of the sniper as well. And then that some mix of those things together should bring it into a bit more of a balanced place, especially moving into the next topic, in which if the chasing is more adequate, then the dominance of the sniper is not necessarily the linchpin of the defense anymore. So that being said, basically the thoughts on chasing are still mostly focused around rage, but there's also some concern that the speed of the cappers is an issue. And to that, I wanted to put out two basic points to talk on. One being, if we decreased the impulse from the impact nitron to be in line with the spin fuser on the Pathfinder, and the effects that has on routes and total speed of the capper, and how that then gives you if that has ramifications through rage, and then of course increasing rage or making rage not tied to the flag stand, and thoughts on that. And we will start at the top with Hollow.
All right. So my first question is, does anyone use rage? The second one is in regards to nerfing nitrons to bring them down to the spin fuser level. I think Winter summed this up incredibly with 3 words: more disc jump. And really, again, the problem goes back to there's no real effective defense in this game currently. So far, the only tactics that I've seen that are a proper defense is when the offense is actually at your team, at the enemy base, acting as chasers to intercept the flag carrier. That's the only way I've seen that defense is actually effective. And it's not really defense.
Thank you. Mabel?
All right. So there's The thing with chasing, all right, first of all, no one uses Rage, and no one can use Rage, because Rage is a badly designed perk that isn't designed with the, if you watch competitive games, watch how chasers play, you can't use Rage how they play. It's just literally impossible. If you're on the stand, you're on the stand, and if you're on the stand, you're going to be there in front of like 3 Raiders crashing. You're going to get annihilated when you're in a light. There's just no way around it. Your counter is to be out in the field killing them before that, and then start moving before the capper even touches the flag, because you don't have enough acceleration anyway else to actually catch up with them. So Rage ultimately will just not work unless you buff the range to the point where you can like activate it from, I don't know, the mid like Katabatic, the stand, to about the foot of that big hill in front on Diamond Sword. That's the kind of distance you need.
Well, basically, it's half the map is fine for Rage. The general thought around not increasing disjumping across the board is that one, it does change kind of the entire flow of the game. 1, 2 is that it would make cappers go faster. It just does, and the difference being the best way I've seen it put as to why disjumping would not necessarily, just a flat increase does not necessarily affect chasing, is that the difference being that in Legacy Tribes titles, the difficulty was maintaining your speed, not the speed, where in Tribes Ascend, it is the opposite. So increasing your ability to get to speed is all well and good, but the problem is that your cappers will set up routes going 400 and they won't bleed that off as they come in. So I think that Rage, although it is, highly targeted, or a Band-Aid, or however you want to call it, right? I'll spin it for you as highly targeted, but is that it does solve that problem. And even, ZP's kind of, his take on it as well is also valid, I think. But
that works so much better. That's the thing, is that works so much better in the context of like actual competitive play. You could actually use that, whereas Rage, first you're giving up reach, which is almost essential when you're actually trying to return flags, because the flag is just finicky and everyone like reach is so tiny. So like it's so hard to compensate for that. The real problem, you touched on it when you said like you can't really increase disjumps, and the reason is because cappers get to just disjump all day and then start moving, right? I mean, like, you have cappers essentially, right? If they're going to actually touch the flag, they would have had 1700 health about, right? You double DJ Nitron, you're down to like no health, and then you regen again, and then you Nitron, and then you touch the flag. And chasers don't have that kind of time. They don't have the regeneration.
Right, you can't front load your speed.
900 health. They have just flat 900 health, and the balance between them and the capper isn't going to be changed unless what they can do with that 900 health is different from what the capper can do with their 1700, or unless they both have, unless those numbers are different. So, you need to work in the game, and I still think, and will always think, that health kits do flatten that out a lot. Health kits allow you to stop cappers from front loading speed as hard with no penalty, once they actually touch the flag. It has a huge penalty against snipers in the field, but once they actually start touching the flag, none of it actually matters because they're going like so fast. So if you look at health kits, you have 2 Pathfinders with, whatever it is, 1175 health, and that's what you're balancing against. That's that's how much the chaser has, that's how much the capper has, and like a chaser can spend more health getting up to speed than the capper can, because they don't have a billion people shooting at them.
Thank you. Ale?
Yeah, on the Rage aspect, I like Rage where it's at, except for the big problem that the radius is far too small. I mean, when you're close, you've got to be pretty much on the flag still to make use of it. But when you do get it, it is good, and the disjumping is, significantly nicer. But the Rage, I think, needs to be boosted by about 500% or something stupid, because it's just tiny right now.
If I can, real quick, Ale, just before you continue. Guys, as we move down, let's just assume that Rage is much larger, and that it is not buggy. So that it always activates in its radius, and the radius is, let's, for the sake of argument, say it's half of the map. All right, continue, sorry.
On top of that, I agree with what Mabel said about the difference with a Kappa in T1 or T2 and compared to TA is the fact that, you know, you can blow 90% of your health and regenerate it, and then blow another half, and you're at, you know, an unreasonable speed to whatever be able to chase. And as much as people argue that in Tribes 2 you could never catch someone doing a back to front, that's, as much as that is true, the fact is that you didn't have to deal with it all the time because it wasn't so easy, and there needs to be some kind of change. I'm not quite sure what to stop it being so easy.
Thank you. Arky?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Rage, basically, I don't think there's anyone here that disagrees. Rage is here because there are core fundamental things missing from the game, or things that are wrong, or that there are bigger issues that cause it that should have maybe been corrected at the beginning of the game and weren't. And we're now in a place where we need like, you guys aren't willing to change that or aren't able to change that, and you know, the game's been out for so long, and that's fair enough. We need a band-aid fix. If we we're better off with a band-aid fix than nothing at all. So I think Rage, as much as it sucks that we have to, you know, be using that, I think everyone should be quite accepting of it, even though it is kind of a gimmicky solution. And I think that, yeah, at the moment the biggest problem is the fact that even if it was working as intended, the radius you had, even with the radius you gave it last time, in a normal 7v7 game, you've got 4 people on offense, 3 people defending. One of those is staying on the stand. One of them is a sniper. That means your guy that's free to be able to chase normally has to go and sort of roam around your base and clear people out. So by definition, he isn't really near the stand. Like, he isn't within that rate. If he's within that rage radius, then he isn't necessarily doing his job very well. So you need the radius has to be a lot bigger to allow for that person to be able to play effectively and benefit from the chasing gain that Rage gives. And then, yeah, the other obvious problem which is built into the game is just the fact that to be able to chase in this game against Pathfinder, you need to be able to get up to a huge speed, which means you have to be playing Pathfinder yourself, and Pathfinder dies in 2 seconds to almost everything. So defending in Pathfinder isn't a very viable option most of the time. So, you know, Pathfinder needs some kind of increased survivability on defense, or maybe I wouldn't be opposed to an entirely new class that could actually survive in defense and chase flags or something like that. Like, specifics aside, I think, you know, that's one of the fundamental problems. You know, Rage, like you said, with a huge increase would be a good start, maybe.
Thank you. Fett, I see you are no longer muted. Do you have anything to add?
Can we restart the whole discussion, because I was away?
Sure. So, guys, we started with, let's talk about the NJ5 now. Do you have anything to add to the Chaser, Capper, and Rage discussion, Fett?
You need to make it needs to be so Reach and Rage are separate, I think, because even if you can chase, it's like impossible to return a lot of times because the flag radius is ridiculously small. Other than that, most of the ground's already been covered in regards to radius and things like that to make it be viable chasing.
Very good, thank you. Capro?
The beloved topic of chasing, the myth of chasing in Tribes Ascend. So we already talked about Rage. Yeah, it obviously should have a huge radius. Personally, I think it should be active whether you're alive or dead. So if you are dead, you're on your 4th second of the respawn timer, and they grab your flag and you spawn, like, I think that you should have that Rage perk active, right? Even though you weren't alive in the radius right then. I think that would be an interesting thing to try. Second, the Rage versus Reach argument. Personally, again, I think Reach should be eliminated as a perk. It should be standard if the flag is in the field. If it's in the field, you should it should be you should have a hitbox as if everybody has Reach. If it's on the stand, I think you should not have Reach. In other words, the hitbox should be different whether it's on the stand or off the stand. I've always thought that would be an interesting thing to try. Obviously, also you could look at making the flag shorter so that you can't have these just obnoxious cappers come in and just go right over a capper or right over a Hoff's head. But that's kind of a separate issue. On chasing itself, so let's assume now that Rage is this amazing perk and you can go so fast and you can do it from anywhere. The problem is you can go really fast in a straight line, right? So you all of a sudden, okay, now I'm going, 250 in a straight line. And if a capper is on a route that naturally carves, you got a window there where you're going very fast. You can maybe kind of cross him. Very rarely will you be able to go parallel to the capper. Another problem with that is you got these, obviously we've already talked about back to front grabs that are ridiculous to try to chase because like look on Arcs, you got this huge ass building or aqueduct thing in the way, so it's very difficult. Even if you could get up to speed, you're gonna have like a matter of like 4 or 5 seconds to chain these guys down. It's gonna be very difficult. So with that comes map design, trying to eliminate back to front routes and putting more of an emphasis on side routes where you have this time to actually get up to speed and then put some damage on a capper. The LAR auto fire needs to be, well, there needs to be auto fire, right? This clicking thing is just obnoxious and it's just ridiculous. There's no reason to have that. So the other option, so all these things are focused on speeding chasers up, right? That's been, disc jumps, we need disc jumps, we need, your nitron thrust, all these things. That's great, but it really is really hard to make work when, like you said, you've got these crazy back grabs and you're going to have like a window of 5, 6, maybe seconds to get the capper down. And it's very difficult. The other option that people don't talk about as much, and Mabel touched on a little bit, is what if we just slow cappers down? So if you go with his idea and you say, okay, let's use health kits, because then you can't afford to use 2 nitrons and a disc jump to get going with these crazy speeds with really no price, because by the time you get back to the stand you're at full health. Health kits would nerf that essentially. It would be interesting to see how that would work. Of course, if you slow cappers down, now are you buffing the sniper? I don't know. It would have to be played with a little bit, but those are my kind of primary concerns and gripes over the past 6 months.
I wanted to quickly add, Copro, one of the things about the sniper that it was a problem before, well, is sort of a problem, is that the stopping regen is the primary, thing that's broken. If you do change like the way that health regeneration works in a way like health kits, it's not actually a problem anymore that you get hit because you don't reset your regen, and putting fall off on the sniper is actually possible when you do that, because you can put an intense fall off and it can do like 50 damage to someone when you're sniping from, say, the back hill on Dry Dock to like the left route. It could do 50 damage and it's not going to break their route, but it's going to do some damage, and it does something, but it's not just free winning across the map.
Right, I think that aspect of the health kit would be great in terms of slowing cappers down. But my thought is, what happens after they grab when, if a sniper has a few more seconds with the capper in his line of sight, will he be able to make up for, not getting him before he grabs? So I think knocking him down before he grabs is the most annoying thing. I mean, cappers just get so demoralized getting snipers on me. After you hear that, when they're 2 seconds into the route, you're like, well, fuck.
Right, what are you going to do? I think
exactly.
The thing you have to notice, though, is in that case, sniper isn't auto shutting down people. In that case, you can actually balance to make it so you don't need a sniper. And that's one of the things about this game that no one really questioned, which is that you cannot win games unless you have someone sniping on your team. And that's actually just bad. That's bad for the game.
Unless you're Tau.
Well, yeah. That completely flattens what you can do on defense. You have so few strategies because you have the basic constraint. You need a Pathfinder to go chase the kills the sniper gets. And you need a sniper
the Pathfinder
to kill the
capper.
So you have one person
or fetcher.
I mean, you have one person you can move around, and that's not actually good.
Okay. Copper, will you finish up here?
Yeah, you should have it be allowed whether you're alive or dead, because I don't want to see a potential chaser just hiding, in the bushes at midfield or whatever, and to taking him completely out of play, just so he makes sure that he gets his rage activated.
All right, thank you. On to Krista. You have anything to add, sir?
Yeah, well, I don't think that nerfing nitrons is a solution. Maybe increasing the range of the rage perk could be interesting, but still using the Pathfinder versus the raiders at the moment. I mean, the only way you have to kill a raider as Pathfinder is using bolt and explosive nitrons. This means that you are not able to chase even if you are using the rage perk. So yeah, I think it will be really interesting if rage will work till half of the map, but only if this comes together with the raider fix. Because if you think that a Pathfinder has any possibilities of killing a raider that is trying to kill you using the nitrons and the disc launcher, you are wrong.
Okay.
Sorry?
I don't think that's a problem. I mean, whatever, we can do this later.
Yeah. Let's.
If you take two players of the same level, one using the Pathfinder, yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem because if you are in defense and you want to use the Pathfinder to chase using the Rage perk, and you have two raiders trying to kill you, this means that you have no way to chase if they are trying to kill you. Don't you agree?
I guess I just think like you should have to like. Oh man, Raider versus Pathfinder 1v1 is not actually a problem that the Raider wins. The Raider should win. The Raider's on offense. They have a really hard job. They should win.
Absolutely, but if the Raider is going to kill you every time and you want to fix the chasing using the Rage, I don't know. I don't see any solution in this. Because
I think that's Rage's fault.
He's right in that. I think what he means to say is Rage is pretty useless in that the class that is doing the chasing is so fragile with 4 bullets into it. It is no longer rageable.
I know. Yeah. I said that's Rage's fault though. Like that's if you replaced it with lightweight instead, it would work so much better. I don't
let me.
Person, let's get down to you. Let's let Crystal finish.
Yeah, one last point. We have, I think, six maps in this game, if I'm right, and only one. I mean, almost every map. On almost every map, you are able to do a back to front. I hope the next maps you are going to release will not have a back to front, because even in Tribes 1 and Tribes 2, people did not really like maps where there were back to front grabs. Well, of course, there were maps like Stone Age, but there was really difficult to be able to do a back to front. Was not easy like on Crossfire, maybe not Crossfire, like on Drydock, like Arcs. It's really easy to do a back to front, and as someone said before, it's thanks to the Aqueduct as well, it's almost impossible to chase, even if you change the range of the Rage perk. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Krista. David?
So I think, a lot of really good stuff's been said here. The biggest thing I see, like, to make this game more exciting is you have to fix chasing, and I think that this is like the central thing to making the game better right now, and that this is where so much focus needs to be. Because if you fix chasing, then you can change snipers a lot. Like Mabel said, the games without sniper, like, that could actually be kind of cool, or like to where you didn't need it. But right now you absolutely have to have it as the only counter to capping, and it's bad for the game that that's how it is. That it's this sniper versus capper thing. It really should be chasing, because it's exciting to watch, it's exciting to play, it rewards high skill. And so I think you guys really need to focus on that to fix the competitive game. And honestly, I've thought about this a tremendous amount, and I really think that the health kits and stronger disc jumps is the only way to do it. You have to have a way to quickly accelerate. At the same time, that fixes the problem that Crystal and others are bringing up, which is that you need the Pathfinder to be going out to duel the LO, or they're just going to kill him. And so if you have stronger disc jumps, then you can actually just respawn and disc jump and be immediately chasing. Because I think he's right in that, you have Rage, which is this Band-Aid fix, but it doesn't fix the problem of he's just going to die to the Raiders anyway, so why does it even matter? Which is why a lot of teams now don't even run a chaser, they just have a dueler to fight Raiders, because there's like kind of no point. And I think that that's the complete opposite direction of how we want to be going with the game. So I think you guys actually should seriously consider the health kits and stronger disc jump solution. Maybe even do it some weird way, like the ZP fix, or some weird Pathfinder kit, or whatever you need to do to make it so that it's something that's more along those lines. I don't know, that's all I got.
Yep. All right, great, thank you. Let's move on to Fwet.
Rage, obviously, the bigger range would be a lot nicer. You're losing reach. Everybody said the same things. One thing I'm thinking is like, it's just maybe like weight the flag a little bit so that when cappers get the flag, they don't go as fast as when they have the flag as when they don't have the flag. So it naturally like makes chasing a little bit easier, and it still promotes cappers being benefits cappers who are faster before they grab, but then makes it a little bit more realistic to catch them midfields. But I think the bigger range on rage will help a lot because it means that chasers don't have to be exactly on the flag stand.
Yep, great, thank you. Greg?
Yeah, the bigger range of rage is good, but Krista said that the raider would kill you is actually good as well, and we need to fix on that. The other problem, I think someone else said that, is that you can't have reach with rage, so even if you're chasing and you kill the guy or make him drop the flag, it's so hard to return without reach because it's very, very hard to actually return the flag. So I think the hitbox, or whatever the name is of the flag on field, should be way larger than what it is currently.
Thank you. Guru?
Basically, LAR needs to have full auto for one. If not, you can have an option. If you're gonna do a 3-shot burst, there should be some sort of advantage to that, less spread, something. If you're gonna increase the range on rage, only make it available for flags that are taken actually on the stand and not in the field. Otherwise, standoffs are gonna be extremely hard. I mean, the range should be extended, but not half the map. That's kind of crazy.
But that's the range you need to start from on like Katabatic. You can't chase unless you're standing in the middle.
With flags on the stand, yes, but if it's not on the stand, then it shouldn't be at half the map.
That's fair.
It's only off the stand, right?
Right, only off the stand. Stacked effect on Egocentric if it's equipped. I think this will help chasers a lot because if you stack it on Egocentric, say maybe 50% or 75%, then they won't be at 200 health by the time they reach the chaser, or by the time they reach the flag capper. Increased drag with the flag is good and it makes sense, physically, but not too much. Yep, that's it.
Thank you. Persian.
Just to hit on some of the other ones, if I could cast a vote. If rage is the method that we choose to address chase, I like the while dead you still get raged a whole lot. I think that you should still hit you when you're on your 3rd second of respawn. To answer what the other guy said, I do see much like Reach, there will be a problem of rage on the stand and on midfield, but that's easily separated with your little ninja codes of, an on-stand rage effect versus an in-field rage effect, right? We don't want raiders walking or somebody else walking and just picking up, 4 or 5 instances of rage which heal you really fast and give you, full energy if it's midfield scrambled.
Right on. Thank you.
Okay, go.
Yeah, finish up.
The most important thing is that if the one thing we get out of this whole thing in my eyes, should be more mobility for everyone. One of the things I feel is that too many people are caught when a flag is grabbed, stuck to the floor, nailed down because of the class they picked is not mobile. So giving an across-the-board boost to disc jumps may not be so bad at all, especially for a lot of the disc classes, which we've already said are nerfed or at a disadvantage to the chain classes, right? So it will bring a utility to the explosive weapons, allow you to close gaps a lot faster with better discs to be able to use explosive weapons in the first place, and give more people than just one guy on defense the ability to chase. That's my biggest grief right now. I don't want just one Pathfinder, a flimsy glass sitting there at D is the only guy who can chase, who's 2 bullets into him, and he can't even do his double nitron to get the most out of his rage and chase it. What if a Pathfinder is what could chase down a 300 plus grab, but that almost any medium could actually chase down a 240 grab with either lightweight or with some kind of baseline rage for everyone. Maybe that should be, something to think about. More people able to chase them down.
Great, thank you. Cause?
There are a lot of well-constructed and long-winded thoughts. For the sake of time, I won't say much. The last thoughts that J4 had just seemed a little aggressive to me, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe weighing down the flag is an interesting idea, but again, that could really dampen a lot of other factors of gameplay. I don't know. It's really sensitive, I think. But yeah.
Thank you. Mask, anything new to add?
Sake of time, I'll agree.
Thank you. Scorch?
I know we weren't going to be talking about physics stuff, but I just wanted to quickly add that the fact that slowdown, like it's hard to gain speed, easy to keep it, is a bit of an issue for chasing. Other than that, I really think that chasing in general is just like, because of back caps, it is a real big issue. Like chase, you can, on a side cap, you can chase that in most cases with rage, when rage is working, for instance. You can catch up to that capper and you have that opportunity to chase down the capper because they're running a side route, they're not heading straight back to their base. So I really think like there needs to be something that, like, especially on maps moving forward, you need to be very careful not to have those back caps. You need to try to cut them out.